Hi, my name is Sydney Calkin. I'm a lecturer in human geography at Queen Mary, University of London. And today I'm going to tell you a little bit about my research and how it relates to sexual and reproductive health rights and how it relates to the work of Bleed Green. Um, so, as a lecturer in the School of Geography, my job involves teaching, obviously. I teach undergraduate students, I teach postgraduate students, and I teach on modules around health geography and international development. My job also involves a research component, so that means that I carry out research on different topics and then I write journal articles, I write books, and I write newspaper articles sometimes, to make the academic work that I do have some public impact. So my research looks at access to safe abortion in countries where it's restricted. Every year, according to the World Health Organization, about 56 million women have abortions. That means they end pregnancies that for a variety of reasons. Some people end pregnancies because they don't want to be pregnant. Some people end pregnancies because there are serious problems with the fetus and so on. So there's a lot of different reasons why people have abortions, but every year about 56 million of them do. And according to the World Health Organization, up to 17 million of those 56 million are unsafe abortions. This means that they take place in contexts that don't have suitable medical equipment or don't have suitable medical professionals there, people without appropriate training, and so on. So part of the reason that there are so many unsafe abortions taking place every year is because, as you probably know, a lot of countries have very restrictive laws about abortion. A lot of countries have laws saying that no abortions are legal, and a lot of countries have laws saying that only very, very few abortions are legal. Many countries have laws to say that the only time abortion is legal is when the person is in immediate danger, risk to their health or risk to their life. But one thing that research on this topic has shown really consistently is that restrictive laws that ban abortions don't actually lead to fewer people having abortions. All it does is it means that more of the abortions that take place are unsafe. And all it means is that more people experience injury and death from unsafe abortion. But something really interesting that motivates a lot of my work is that new technologies and new medical developments mean that abortions that take place in countries with restrictive laws don't have to be unsafe. They don't have to be dangerous. There are a few medications, just pills, that are transforming the way that abortion happens around the world. And those medications are called mifepristone and misoprostol. And what they are is they're pills that are cheap to make, in normal pharmaceutical manufacturing conditions. And they enable people to end pregnancies in relatively safe conditions without surgical intervention, and often in low resource settings, meaning people who can't get to a hospital or can't get to, a high-tech doctor's office can still safely end a pregnancy if they want to. So I want to tell you a little bit about these pills because they're very interesting, and part of what my research does is I look at the kind of global history of these medications, and especially how they move across international borders. So, as I said earlier in the presentation, a lot of countries have restrictive abortion laws. But the interesting thing about these medications is that, a small handful of pills, they're easy to move across borders. And so what we see increasingly is even in countries with restrictive laws, people are able to obtain the medications they need to have a safe, self-managed abortion. So what my work asks is, if people are able to get pills and safely end their own pregnancies, even in countries where the laws are very restrictive, does this technology change the relationship between women and the state? Does it change the politics of abortion? Does it change the state's ability or willingness to enforce restrictive abortion laws? So these two pills often work together, but misoprostol can also work by itself. Misoprostol has a really interesting history because it was originally developed for the treatment of ulcers and arthritis. And misoprostol was, developed for these purposes, and it was licensed, and it was manufactured and distributed around the world for the treatment of these other conditions. And after it was available around the world in pharmacies for the treatment of ulcers and arthritis, that's when activists realized that it could be used to safely induce abortion. And so this started in the 1980s with activists in Brazil who realized that they could buy these pills and use them to end pregnancies in a context where abortion was illegal and where a lot of people were resorting to unsafe abortion to end pregnancies. So these activists discovered this kind of second use of this medication that was already being sold in pharmacies. But it was illegal, and the use of it for abortion was illegal. And so what they did was they basically shared knowledge and information with each other across borders. And so misoprostol, its use for abortion started in Brazil, and it became used across Latin America as knowledge spread through these different activist networks. And it's become used much more widely across the world to induce safe abortion. The use of abortion pills has been attributed to a dramatic fall in maternal mortality from unsafe abortion, which is to say that the availability for people to get abortion pills and use them, even in places with restrictive laws, has led to a huge decline in the number of people with injury and death from unsafe abortion. So these pills have really made abortion much safer worldwide. And the interesting thing is that activists have been really successful in moving the pills across borders and moving the knowledge about how to use the pills across borders, independent of the laws in those countries. So activists have been successful in saying, if we can't change the law right now, we're still going to further access to safe abortion by getting people access to pills in different countries. And that takes a lot of different forms. So, for instance, the pills that are licensed for the treatment of ulcers, sometimes they're sold in pharmacies in certain countries, like especially in Latin America. And so activists have created information resources and give each other advice about how to go get the pills at which pharmacies and how to make them available to the people who need them for abortion. For people living in countries where they can't walk into a pharmacy and buy this medication, there are activist networks that take action to send it through the post, and they send it across the world. And this has been really transformative. So my research has specifically looked at the way that people send this medication across borders into Ireland, Northern Ireland, and Poland, all of which have had very restrictive abortion laws. Ireland and Northern Ireland had those very restrictive abortion laws until 2018, 2019, when we saw big changes. Poland still has very restrictive abortion laws and has actually taken steps recently to make the laws much more restrictive there. But the really interesting thing is that even though the laws have been restrictive in those countries, activists there have been working transnationally to spread access to medication abortion pills. Sometimes this involves moving pills through the mail. So these networks, they have like doctors who run online consultations and then write prescriptions and then ship medications. This also involves activists putting themselves at a lot of risk actually to personally smuggle in, stockpile, and then distribute the pills to the people who need them. So there's a lot of different ways that people can get these pills. And part of what's so interesting about them is because they're small and discreet and very mobile, it can be very hard for countries to block people from bringing in this medication when they want to do that. So that's the kind of research that I do. And as I said, when I do that research, I usually am writing journal articles, writing books, or giving talks to students, NGOs. I also use my research in the teaching that I do. So for instance, I teach a health geography class where I teach the students about the different kind of reproductive technologies that exist and the global geography of those reproductive technologies, right? So that involves loads of different reproductive activities. I teach students about, like I've told you today, about how people travel across borders to access abortion, or how they move medications across borders to access abortion, but also how people travel across borders to access fertility technology. People who want assisted reproductive technology in order to conceive. Often they live in countries where the services they want are restricted, and so there's a whole global geography of the way that people travel across borders in order to access IVF, surrogates, to get donor eggs, to get donor sperm, and so on. Thank you for listening, and thank you for taking part in the program today. I hope you've enjoyed it.